It's been a long 4 months, but we're
Yes.
happy to say Off the Dome is finally back.
There we go, baby.
And, we got some outfits. We brought back the outfits for the Natty. We had to do it all back. But I'm noticing Noah here. Why are you wearing shorts? Like, what's up with this business casual?
No, guys, I didn't just roll out of bed and come here, but it is finally getting warm in Syracuse, New York. Clap that up. That means that it is time for playoff basketball and hockey, some of the best sports of the year. And so we had to make an episode because the fans have been dying for an Off the Dome episode.
They have. Let's get right into it. But before we dive into this NBA playoff and hockey action, we got to talk about some stuff that we missed. First of all, Calvin Russell, five-star wide receiver for Syracuse. We still go to Syracuse, obviously, and care about the team. He suffered a torn Achilles, and he will more than likely be out for the long haul. Noah, do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, just a brutal injury. Right when things were looking uphill for the Orange, of course, your five-star recruit tears his Achilles in practice, of all places. And then the day later, he's in full pads on like a scooter doing something. That's peak Fran Brown foolishness. I have no idea why he's doing that. But regardless, it's a really tough blow for a fan base that has seen a lot of bad in the last year or two.
They have. Torn Achilles for the Orange fans really are a dark memory as that happened. Exact same injury happened to Steve Angeli earlier in the season. Started out the year 3-1, then finished an abysmal 3-9. But that's not the only Syracuse athletics that's made a complete change. Adrian Autry got fired, and so as a result, Jerry McNamara, former Syracuse Orange, won the national championship in 2003 with Carmelo Anthony. He's back as a head coach, and he's already made a splash in the transfer portal. Noah, is there any key players that you...
Yeah, I mean, he's made more than a couple of splashes. The big one that everyone's talking about is Gavin Doty, one of the top, highest recruited players in the transfer portal. Obviously, he coached him at Siena. I think most people expected him to come to the Orange. But nonetheless, a great pull. Had 21 points against Duke in that game that was oh so close to being historic. And I like Jerry. I like the acquisition. I think that as long as he can get a good recruiting class, he's already kind of built a little bit of a good team around Kyan Anthony, Sadiq White. Then I think that Syracuse basketball could be a spectacle next year. I think it's about changing the culture, though, for the most part.
Yeah, for sure. He also just today brought in Ryan Mesh, 4-star. He flipped from Siena. Don't ask me how he got a 4-star recruit to commit to Siena, but doesn't matter. He flipped to Syracuse, and they start the season in November with high hopes. This Orange team could even be like a top 25 team to open up the season.
Yeah, I mean,
it's high aspirations.
We were at that Jerry McNamara, or I was at that Jerry McNamara opening press conference. The tension in the air, it was palpable. Honestly, everybody there had genuine hope in this basketball organization, and I feel like it was much less depressing than it was with Coach Red, who you and I, we both have thoughts on him as well. But there was genuine hope in the program, and hopefully they can live up to those expectations because I don't know how much more losses that this historic franchise can even take.
Yeah, for sure. And, a lot of these Syracuse basketball players, Carmelo Anthony, all these other guys went on to go and play in the NBA. The playoffs are going to start soon. First up, we'll start off with the play-in tournament, which, by the way, I do not like the play-in tournament. How do you feel about it?
I actually love the play-in tournament. Maybe that's a hot take. I think Adam Silver, maybe the tournament guide label that people put on him is true because every time he sees a problem in the NBA, like low viewership or too many bad teams being in the playoffs, he just throws a tournament at it and calls it a day. But I actually like the play-in tournament. I miss hoops for so long after the end of the regular season, and watching these semi-mediocre teams play against each other, even when you know that they're not going to win in round one, still pretty entertaining,
Mm.
still pretty fun. So
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it.
His giant, enormous cranium is being put to work here.
I mean, what even counts as the cranium at that point? I mean, it goes all the way back.
Yeah, for sure. But we start out with a youthful Hornets squad facing off against a team that just feels like they're always there. The Hornets versus the Heat in the 9-10 game for the play. And Noah, let's give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple teams that we're used to seeing in the play-in tournament every year. Bulls, Heat, Hawks, we'll talk about more of them later, but they finally escaped the play-in tournament, so happy for them. But the Heat have not escaped the play-in. This is their second or third straight year being in the play-in tournament. And they lost Jimmy Butler last year, which was a huge hit. They're still in the tournament. But they're not the storyline in this game. Let's make that clear. The Hornets haven't made the playoffs in 10 years. 10 years. I mean, that's an elementary kid's lifetime. So they haven't made the playoffs since LeBron blocked Iguodala in Game 7 of 2016. And that's just sad. Hornets fans deserve better, but they have gotten better this year. And I think that the spark that triggered all of this was the acquisition of Con Knipple in the 2025 NBA draft. A great shooter coming out of Duke, but he just provides that spark. LaMelo Ball, he's great, but I don't think that he's a winning player on his own. He needs pieces around him in order to take the pressure off of him and allow him to play kind of his goofy brand of basketball where he just kind of chucks it up there whenever he feels like it. And it goes in a lot of the time, I will say. But Con Knipple, he's a solid, composed basketball player. He plays the game the right way. He hits the shots when he has to. Him and Brandon Miller, I think they've been able to carry a lot of the scoring load when LaMelo has those off nights, and that's led to a lot of winning. The one thing I'm worried about for this game specifically is the Hornets' lack of size. Right now, their starting center is Moussa Diabate. I'm not sure if you know who that is, but he's not well known, and he's not getting them an insane amount of production. I mean, he's been fine for a center in their second or third year, but not a great player. And when you look at a guy that dropped 83 points earlier in this season, you know how capable he is of scoring at a high clip. Playoffs basketball are usually physical, and they're usually not won by the teams that hit all the threes, but won by the teams that can dominate inside. I think the Hornets play a great brand of basketball. Charles Lee has coached the hell out of these guys. But if they miss a shot or two and they let the Heat's bigs go on runs, you can't forget about Kel Ware. He's also really good. A 7-footer that can play like a 3 or a 2. He can get to the hoop. Bam, obviously, we know what he can do offensively. If the Hornets don't go on an extreme run where they're hitting all of their shots, I think there's no way that they stay in this game. I'm rooting for the Hornets in this game, but if I'm taking a safe pick here, I think the Heat are going to get it done. They have a lot of play-in experience, as we've said before. And even though I think this Hornets team is hungrier, and I think that more people think that they're going to win, the Heat have experience. They have the big man. And people forget about Tyler Hero. He's still a really good basketball player. And I think the Heat, top to bottom, have more talent in this matchup.
Yeah, for sure. This is, a really intriguing matchup. You think about the Hornets, they're a team with so much youth. Like in a few years, we're going to be seeing them play in conference finals and perhaps NBA finals.
Could be, yeah.
I mean, Con Knipple, obviously, you mentioned, was a big factor. I think my X factor for this game is going to be Brandon Miller. He brings a mixture of size and shooting. He's laughing because we both know where he went to school.
We know why he is the X factor.
But, I mean, he's really got some size. And, to counteract the Heat size, he can get in there and get some boards. But he can also turn around and drill some threes. So we'll see. His 6'10" frame will be a huge factor. So I think the Hornets are going to get it done.
Yeah. Hornets spacing is going to be tough for the Heat. I mean, 1 through 4 mostly, they can shoot the hell out of the ball. And they gave the Celtics a run for their money earlier in the season. Luckily, Tatum stepped up when they needed to, but they were looking good. They were up by multiple digits. And thankfully, we won that game, but they could compete with anybody. I just think, one game loser goes home scenario, I don't trust LaMelo Ball. And I've always said this. I don't think that he's a winning basketball player. I don't think that his style of play translates into big moments. Even in that Celtics game, towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter, he started missing every shot that he took, but he didn't stop taking them. He took step back threes off of one leg with a defender in his face. That's not a winning shot. And I'm just worried that he's going to keep taking those shots in big moments and that it's going to cost him.
Yeah, LeVar begs to differ. All right, on a game that will feature the winner of this game, the loser of the game that we're about to talk about plays the winner of that game. We
Right.
got the Sixers versus the Magic. Noah, what are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, Sixers versus Magic, obviously very intriguing to me because the winner plays the Celtics. I think that this is a pretty easy pick for me, at least, seeing how the Magic have played down the stretch towards the end of the season. The Magic are only in the play-in tournament because they lost to a G League Celtics team. I mean, probably our 8 best players were out, minus Baylor Shireman, who dropped 30. And the Magic had their full strength roster in a must-win game, and you're telling me they couldn't win that game? I mean, yeah, sure, like 3 of the Celtics players had career highs, but also, how do you let that happen if you're the Magic defense? I mean, they've got to take a hard look at themselves and wonder what's going wrong with this team as a whole and with their identity. They haven't had a playoff win in who knows how long, or a playoff series win in who knows how long. And the Sixers, although Embiid with that appendicitis, that's a blow. I don't think they're going to win a first-round series because of that. They have a Dembono who's, he's serviceable, but he's no Embiid. Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe, I think that's enough to get them past the Magic because the Magic defense really concerns me. They were once a really, really great unit, and Paolo Banchero's scoring can get them past teams like this. But now, in a game where you have electrifying players like Tyrese Maxey, you've got great role players, you've got guys that can get it done. I'm going to say that the Sixers are going to win this game pretty handily. And then the Magic get put in a really tough position once they play either the Heat or the Hornets, who I don't think they match up well against either of those teams.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good game. It's kind of nice. The 7-8 games, maybe not necessarily as entertaining, but if you're a fan, it's a lot more relaxing to watch one of these games. But I'm a huge Paulo Banchero fan as well as a VJ Edgecombe fan. I think Banchero's size is going to be a huge factor. But Maxey, he can shoot. For that reason, I'm taking the Sixers.
That's fair. And I watched Banchero come into TD Garden last year and drop Hank 36 on the Celtics, which was, not a great sight. They still won the game, but I'm not going to doubt Paolo's scoring ability in the playoffs. I just don't believe that in 4 days since you played the Celtics that you're going to have that much of a switch in how you play, unless they're having some crazy pregame speech, but I don't think it's going to be enough to pass.
For sure. They need to make some sacrifices.
Yeah, seriously.
Win. All right, we'll go head out to the West now. We got the Clippers versus the Warriors. A little California battle. Who do you think in this one, Noah?
Yeah, I mean, battle of the West Coast. True West Coast teams. You've got Oakland versus Los Angeles. Used to be San Diego, but, whatever. Los Angeles, that big market. They've done a great job promoting that team, even though they have no fans. But I don't even think the Warriors should be in this position. They've been so injury-plagued all year long. Obviously, Jimmy Butler went down early on in the year. Curry had spurts where he was out. And then that gruesome Moses Moody injury, which I had the grotesque displeasure of watching live. His knee completely folded inwards, which was, kind of odd and terrible for them. And honestly, that's one of the bigger reasons why I'm taking the Clippers. We saw a couple of days ago, or honestly a couple of hours ago, I think it was, Steve Kerr said that Steph Curry is going to be on a minutes restriction for this game. And with all the firepower that the Clippers have, I mean, they have Kawhi Leonard. They have good rotational pieces that can kill you. And this team has fight. If anything, they have fight. They started the season in the bottom 3 teams in the Western Conference. They turned that around. They just got back to even a couple months ago, and already they're looking at a play-in spot. I think this team will want it more than the Warriors, and they'll be able to get it for precisely that reason. The Warriors don't have enough pieces. I'm not trusting Pat Spencer if it comes down to it. I mean, obviously he's a great lacrosse player, but I don't know how much his basketball game is going to translate in the play-in tournament. I like Kawhi Leonard a lot. I think he's had his great peaks. I don't know if he's exactly the same player that he was back then, but I think they have enough rotational depth to get them back at least to win this game against a team that doesn't have much going for
Mhm. Yeah, it's weird to see the Warriors in a playing game like this. Back 10 years ago, they were dynasty going 72-10 or whatever
them.
it
Yeah.
was. But now, they're playing in the playing game, which I haven't really seen them in the playing game since the LeBron James. I was out there seeing three rims shot at the middle one.
Yeah.
But they don't have Curry, which is a huge. They do have Pods, however, and Pods can shoot. He's a great player. However, with Curry being on a minutes restriction, I think the Clippers are too much with Kawhi Leonard. Give me the Clippers.
It's a good pick. Also, they got John Collins, who's been surprisingly really good, not talked about a lot. Good big man. And the Warriors, I just don't like those players. I think that they are players that'll do maybe get a big night on a quiet night, like Pajemski, who just dropped 30. Shout out to him for the first time in his career. But I don't know if they're going to get it done on the big stage. Curry, we know, is a performer on the biggest stage. But if he's only playing 20 minutes a night and Kawhi's playing 35, that's 15
Yeah.
minutes of extra value that you're not getting from the Warriors.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be interesting, but I think the Clippers should run away with this. All right. Now, the winner of this game that we just talked about will face the winner of the Blazers versus the Suns. Noah, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, winner of this game gets the extreme pleasure of getting to play the Spurs in the first round, which is, I'm sure, a very attractive matchup. No, just kidding. This is a good matchup. I went back and forth on this one because matchup wise, these teams are pretty equal. The Blazers have a great defensive unit. They're top six in both rebounding and blocks per game. They have Drew Holiday, who's a great defender. He's been that for his whole career. Tumani Kamara, one of the bright young defenders in this league. And then they've got great big men. They've got Donovan Clingan, who led the league in total rebounding. And they've got Denny Avdia, who obviously is the number one option scoring wise. They have a complete team. They've got a bunch of guys that can get it done. The question is, in a game like this, will they get it done? I trust them because they have veterans like Drew Holiday, because they have proven scorers like Denny Avdia, and they have size at Donovan Clingan. I think that's enough to get them past the Suns team. But you look at the Suns, they're more exciting. Dylan Brooks, he's taken a huge leap from last season, averaging 20 points a game this year. I'm not sure if many people know that. And Devin Booker, he's always going to give you a surplus of scoring. I think he's sitting around 25 or 26 points a game right now. Their big men have been fine this year. Nothing to exactly write home about, but they have more potential to win than the Blazers do. But I like the Blazers in this matchup just because they're a more complete team and they don't need to do more to win this game than the Suns do. So if I'm going purely off of if I have to bet money on this game and I don't condone gambling, I would go with the Blazers just because they're a more solid team. You can depend on them. And those are the kind of teams that typically win to come down the stretch in these April and May playoff games.
Yeah, this will for sure be an interesting matchup. I mean, both squads have one almost veteran that you feel like has been there before. Devin Booker, he's not like the oldest in the world, but he's been around. He was on that team that went to the finals and lost to Drew Holiday when he was in the Bucks.
Right.
He's won. Drew Holiday's been here before. Obviously, the Suns team is completely different than the team that went to the finals a few years ago.
Right.
But I just see the Suns team and I feel like they just have so much more experience in playoff basketball than the Blazers. For that reason, for a game like this, I think game one, I think the Blazers lose this game, but I think they're going to beat the Clippers in the next one. But for that reason, just like not being able to play on like the grand stage, I think the Suns are going to take care of business.
That's fair. And one player that I also want to highlight on the Suns is Colin Gillespie. He's been great. Not a lot of people are talking about him too, but he's another one of those difference makers. And their backcourt is really, really lethal. They've got a fair amount of size. I mean, they've got a couple guys that can get it done down low. But I mean, if those guys are really clicking, especially Booker, we know how good he can be. The Suns are a team that's scary, not only in this round, but hell, they could win a couple of games against the Spurs or maybe catch a game against the Thunder. I don't know about that, but
Yeah, whatever happens, I mean, the top of the West is pretty stacked. So
yeah,
it's going to be both whoever comes out of the play-in is going to have a tough challenge beating the OKC and then the Spurs too.
for sure.
But yeah, all right. So we'll move on to the actual NBA playoffs. We got the 3 seed Nuggets versus the 6 seed Timberwolves matchup that we've seen quite a lot in the past. Two very polarizing players on both sides. Noah, what are your thoughts on this one?
Nuggets Timberwolves. Man, that's a good series. It's been a staple of the NBA playoffs, the Western NBA playoffs, for the last half decade. I mean, you've gotten all of these, great Ant Jokic matchups, and especially earlier on in Ant's career when they were just coming out of the play-in tournament, the Nuggets were this top dog, and they had some really really close games in that series. Right when Ant was coming out of his first couple seasons in the league. But now they get to face off when these two teams are really at the peak of where they've been. The Timberwolves are finally putting it together. Anthony Edwards is a bona fide superstar in the league. Everybody knows that. Julius Randle is playing some of the best basketball of his career. Jaden McDaniels is still doing what he's done throughout his entire career, playing great defense, blocking people up. And Rudy Gobert, people don't talk about him enough. He's still playing Defensive Player of the Year caliber defense. This Timberwolves team is not a 6 seed. Like, they should not be a 6 seed. It just shows you how good the West is this year that a team of this caliber can be a 6 seed. But then you've got the Nuggets. I think the Nuggets are one of, if not the best team in the West. Maybe that's a crazy take for me to say, but they have the biggest identity of any team in the West. You look at the Thunder. Sure, they play good defense. They go in transition. The Spurs go through Wemby. No team in the West has a stronger identity than the Nuggets do with Jokic. Jokic, he's the centerpiece. He's the artist. The, the basketball court is his canvas. And the Denver Nuggets organization has given him all of the paint, all of the brushes that he needs to paint his masterpiece. And all he needs to do is finally put those tools to work. Christian Braun, you've got Peyton Watson, who's been a great piece. We know how good Jamal Murray can be in the playoffs. And Aaron Gordon finally getting it together, hitting 3-point shots at a high clip for the first time in his career. This is the best Nuggets team that we've seen since their title back in 2022 or 2021 or sorry, 2023. Excuse me. I think that this team has a legitimate shot to go all the way to the finals, conference finals. Finals is a realistic expectation for this team this year. And I think that Jokic, the MVP of the NBA in my eyes, is going to get it done against the really, really good team in the Timberwolves. But the Nuggets are really good this year, and people are going to see that in this first series. What I'm pointing to for this series, there was a game a couple weeks ago, Nuggets Spurs. It went into overtime. 138 to 136 was the final score. Spurs and Nuggets were both at full health, full strength. Nobody in their roster was injured, and the Nuggets came out on top with Wemby and Jokic both having good games. To me, that proves that the Nuggets can play a higher clip of basketball than even the Spurs can. And for that reason, it gives me confidence to say they'll beat anyone in a 7-game series, including the Timberwolves.
Yeah, this is, in my opinion, this is probably the best matchup of round one. Both teams kind of, most years, if it weren't for the two gauntlets up at the front, OKC and the Spurs, Nuggets would be 1 or 2 seed. And the Timberwolves, they haven't been playing the best this season, but they should be higher than a 6 seed, as you mentioned. And I'm a huge fan of Anthony Edwards. I love watching his dunks and stuff, specifically that one against the Raptors, if you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
But you can't. There's no denying Jokic is the best player in the NBA. He's the best basketball player on the earth. That's just too much. And when you got guys like Jamal Murray around him, it's gonna be too much. I mean, the Timberwolves are much more of a well-rounded team. I feel like if you took Edwards and Jokic out of the game, I'd take the Timberwolves. But with Jokic healthy, he's just too much. I think the Nuggets take care of business.
And an interesting thing, just scheme wise, last year how the Nuggets brought that series so close in was they put two bigs on Jokic, and that seemed to slow him down. They put Gobert and Randall helping, and that seemed to slow Jokic down, at least from scoring. This year, they've tried the same methods. Jokic in matchups versus the Timberwolves has averaged 35 points a game this year. I think that that is a sign that whatever scheme that they were using last year isn't working anymore. He's figured it out, like the basketball genius he is, and that gives me full confidence to say if they can't stop Jokic from scoring, what are they gonna do when he's passing? So I don't think that the Timberwolves are gonna win this series. I think the Nuggets win it in 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next up, we got a bit of a surprising team to make the playoffs. We got the 3 seed Knicks, who everybody expected to be in this position, versus the 6 seed Hawks. Noah, do you care to explain who you got?
Yeah, so the Hawks were a staple of the NBA play-in tournament. Honestly, since its creation, we've seen Trae Young try and fail so many times to put together a real playoff run. Obviously, he had the one in 2021 where he took down the Knicks, which was great. These teams do have history, but as we know, Trae Young no longer with the Hawks, and I think that's part of why they're doing so much better this year. Trae Young, like LaMelo Ball, is not a winning basketball player. He's going to take inefficient shots. He's going to get assist numbers just because people are forced to shoot it at the late end of shot clocks. But I don't think that Trae Young was helping that team win basketball games. Now that they're building the team around Jalen Johnson, I think that they have a much better chance to win basketball games. And you look at the resurgence of guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Nobody was expecting him to be good. He's probably at the level of a Baylor Shireman or maybe a Jalen McDaniels, if even. Probably not even as good as that. Or he was. He has really stepped into his own. He is the leading candidate for most improved player. I think he deserves to win it. And he's a staple behind why this team is succeeding. Veteran leadership. We talk about it all the time in basketball. It's so important for winning teams. CJ McCollum. CJ McCollum, people thought that he was washed. I mean, you could have almost started playing that, oh, you done me up outstanding. You light my fire. You could have started cueing the Paul George retirement music for him. But he's turned it around now. He's really been scoring at a high clip, passing the ball around, doing a great job. And then obviously Jalen Johnson, the first time All-Star this year, a double-double machine. He honestly never goes under 10 rebounds. And he's the centerpiece now of this Hawks team that's winning basketball games. And nobody deserves it more than this Hawks fan base that's basically suffered through basketball purgatory for 5 years. But let's talk about this matchup as a whole. The Knicks, the same core as last year. You've got Brunson, Hart, Bridges, Cat, and OG. Those are your players. Those are the ones that you think are going to get you to the promised land. You've got pieces like Deuce McBride and Josh Hart coming off the bench. Those are all your guys that you think are going to win you the game. I don't see them making a deep playoff push this year because of that fact that they have the same core that they did last year. If they couldn't do it last year against the Pacers, I think the East is much better this year, and I don't think that they're going to be able to win a late playoff matchup against the Pistons, against the Cavs, against the Celtics. So for that reason, I don't have them making a big playoff push, but I think they have just enough talent to beat the Hawks. I think the Hawks have put together an incredible regular season, but I don't know if I can say that these Hawks players are ready for this high stakes of an environment against as much talent and as much good coaching as the Knicks have.
Yeah, for sure. One of my best friends back home, he's a huge Hawks fan. The amount of time he's told me Jalen Johnson, best player in the NBA after going off and carrying the Hawks to victory is insane. I wonder, is that going to be the player that the New York faithful chooses to attack on Atlanta this year?
There's always someone.
Is he balding? I don't really.
No, he's got a full head of hair.
But yeah, I mean, this is a completely different roster on the Hawks. Completely different starting five than the last time they faced off against the Knicks in the playoffs. But the Knicks, while they didn't win it all, they have much more experience from that Eastern Conference Final win. I think Brunson, while he may not have played the best against the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals, I could see him bouncing back. For that reason, I think the Knicks are going to be able to take care of business and move on to the next round where they may face the Boston Celtics. We'll see if
They
they can
may. They
pull it
may.
out.
I
But
mean, that would be an enticing series for so many reasons. I mean, you saw the Achilles injury last year in Madison Square Garden. There's so much history between New York and Boston fans. An interesting thing to look at in this series is that um, um, Dyson Daniels, who was last year's defensive player, he was a most improved player. He had a lot of steals last year per game. He's played great defense this year, and I think their unit is going to suffocate the Knicks. I say that the Hawks are going to shock people and win either game one or game 1 and 2, but then the Knicks are going to figure them out. And with their size in Mikal Bridges, in Karl Anthony Towns, and Mitchell Robinson, who's been great for them so far at the end of the season here. I think that they're going to handle them, and I think it's going to be a 6-game series.
yeah, for sure, it's gonna be a tight one. But there's obviously, the Hawks are a surprising team to be here. How about another surprising team? We got the 4 seed Cavs versus the 5 seed Raptors. I mean, who predicted the Raptors to be sitting in this position? Noah, I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, honestly, to answer your question, Brady, nobody expected the Raptors to be doing this great. They have all the talent in the world, sure, but I think Brandon Ingram has really elevated this team to the next level. Darko Rajakovic is doing a great job with that team. He's built a real culture, and they're playing like Raptors teams of old. They're flashy, but they're composed, and they know how to win basketball games. You've got R.J. Barrett getting it done. You've got Brandon Ingram getting it done. They've got good size. They've got pretty good guards. Um, and I just think this team is ready for playoff basketball, but I don't think that they're going to compete with a team like the Cavs, who I think are much better than a 4 seed. I think the Cavs, realistically, their upside, they could make it to the conference finals or make it even to a championship. And the question this year is, can James Harden lead a team to the finals? Lead them. We saw what he did in OKC when he was a rookie. But now that he's at the helm of this team, and he's playing meaningful basketball, can he get it done? Can he realistically lead them past the Raptors and lead them past the Pistons in the next round, assuming that the Pistons win? I think that the Cavs are going to easily win the series. I think this could even be a sweep that we see here. Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen. This team is really complete. The problem for them is figuring out how to make it all click in the big moments. But I think that they're going to get it done. And I think that James Harden was the piece that this team needed in order to get to that next level. So give me the Cavs in 4.
I am a huge Scotty Barnes fan, as goofy as he looks, going out on the court. But I think for the Cavs, their guard depth is going to be the huge factor. They got James Harden, Donovan Mitchell. Huge, I just think it's going to be too much for the Raptors. And the fact the Cavs have been here before, they've been in the playoffs in past years. Raptors haven't. I think, experience is always a huge factor on the big stage. These teams that make it for the first time never do well. So for that reason, give me the Cavs.
So we're in agreement on most of these picks here.
Yeah.
This is a dicey matchup. The 4 seed Lakers versus the 5 seed Rockets. You've got a lot of star power that was expected to be in this series. But Luka Doncic still out indefinitely with an injury they announced today. So he's likely not going to play in the series. Neither is Austin Reeves. So we're going back to seeing first option LeBron James at the ripe old age of 41 years old. I mean, the guy has got to get a break one of these days. But I love the amount of star power in this series. We know what happened in the offseason for this Rockets team. Kevin Durant, he was tasked with taking this team to the next level. They have young stars in Alperen Sengun, Amen Thompson. They've got other great outlets, great players. But can KD take this team to the next level? I think that the Rockets got blessed in this first round because the Lakers are severely undermanned. Sure, Marcus Smart has been playing some great basketball, but if you're relying on guys like Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, Bronny James, Dalton Connect, you're not going to win playoff basketball games. If LeBron can't go out there and genuinely replicate what he did in 2018, there is no way that the Lakers are going to steal 4 games against this Rockets team that does have a lot of upside. I think that they could be fraudulent come next round, but the Rockets have too much talent to lose to a team without their best player. So give me the Rockets in 5 or 6.
Yeah, LeBron James, as old as he is, he's still the greatest basketball player of all time. Some may argue, some may
That's a
disagree.
conversation for another
But
day.
yeah, for sure. But I mean, the Rockets, they just have so much depth. I mean, who wouldn't want another KD versus LeBron matchup in the playoffs?
Yeah,
But
they haven't played each other in a non-finals matchup ever.
so this is the first time we'll see them this early. I mean, what other, normally you're seeing them play against each other in June. Now we got it in April. But, the Rockets, they have so much depth. Jabari Smith Jr. is a great player. You got Kevin Durant. They just have, like, all their players, they got size, they got good shooting. But all the injuries to the Lakers, LeBron is still the best player of all time. I still believe in Dalton Connect, even though after the Lakers tried to trade him and it didn't work, he kind of lost some of his mojo. But I think he could use some confidence, and I think he's going to get it back for this series. So, what did he say? Something Lakers in five.
Yeah. You're
But
taking the Lakers, all
yeah, I'm
right,
going
all
with the
right.
Lakers here.
Wow. Okay. So then, before we get into the NHL, I've got to ask you, who do you think goes all the way this year?
I mean, I'm really high on the Thunder. Obviously, they won it last year. I'm gonna have them going to the finals and facing off against the New York Knicks, team that came just short last year, got beat by Halliburton. All the magic from that Pacers team, and I think that the Knicks are going to take care of business. Give me Josh Hart stepping up. Got a little bit of a niche pick for the finals, but I got the Knicks winning and Josh Hart MVP. Noah, I have a feeling you're gonna pick specific team dressed in green in the finals.
I
But what
might,
about you?
yeah. Well, for our fans at home, if you want to make a parlay based off of Brady's pick, that'll probably make you a millionaire. Um, but yeah, my finals pick, I'm having a tough time with the West Conference. I do think the Celtics are the team to beat in the East. I don't trust the Pistons. They haven't been there before. I don't think that they're going to get it done. I say that they lose to the Cavs in round two. Maybe that's crazy to say, but I think the Eastern Conference Finals is Celtics Cavs. I think the Celtics handle that series with ease. They won that season series. They won every game of that season series. So I think the Celtics are going to make the finals from the East. But from the West, give me the San Antonio Spurs. Sure, they don't have a lot of playoff experience, but they have experience with beating the Thunder. And that's all you have to do. That's all you got to do in the playoffs. You just got to beat a team 4 times. And in their season series, with most players healthy, they won 3 out of the 4 games. If you can win 3 out of 4, you can win 4 out of 7. And so, even though they're young, even though they're unexperienced, they have veteran leadership. De'Aaron Fox has been in the league long enough, and they have an identity. I think identity is more important than experience come playoff time. You've got a guy that you can go to no matter what.
Mhm.
If Dylan Harper or Steph Castle or any of their guards get flustered and don't know what to do with the ball, hey, I've got an idea. Throw it up to your 7'4" demigod in the paint. He'll catch it and throw it down, literally wherever you throw it to him. So I think just the fact that they have Wembanyama, he's going to protect the paint against so many teams that rely on elite defense, like the Nuggets, like the Thunder, like any of those juggernaut teams that rely on inside scoring to win games. The Spurs are going to get it done in the Western Conference because they have great guard play and because they have arguably the best big, true big man in the world. I think Jokic is an anomaly. But I think Spurs Celtics in the finals, and you've got a great series, but unfortunately, I've got to pick against my Celtics. I'm going to go with the Spurs taking this one in a heartbreaker for the Celtics. I just don't think they have enough good size to defend against Wembanyama. They've played a couple times in the regular season, and what I saw from that was we've got a chance against them, and I think the series will go 6 or 7 games. Um, but at the end of the day, I don't know if Neemias, Keita, Luka Garza, and Jason Tatum can play adequate defense on Wembanyama. I think we'll shut down their guard play, but like I said, it's so easy to go inside to him and get so many points off of that. So I just don't feel confident about the Celtics team getting it done versus them. If they do get it done, I'm going to be the happiest man in the world. But as of now, the Spurs are my pick to win it all.
So Noah has another Boston team falling in a heartbreak in a championship this year.
Yeah, I mean, The Patriots was a little bit less expected than the Celtics would be. I think the Celtics are a lot of people's picks this year to make the championship out of the East because on paper they have the most championship experience. They have the best duo in the league, and so I think they are the team to beat in the East. But I could definitely see the Knicks pulling off an upset, or maybe the Cavs or Pistons. But I'm sticking with the Celtics. So now we're changing it over from the hardwood to the ice. And, if this was me and I was out there, I would probably fall on my butt. I'm not a great skater, but I do know a little bit about the NHL. I know you've got a lot more NHL ball knowledge than I do.
Puck knowledge.
Puck knowledge. Sorry, exactly. There you go. There's a demonstration right there. But we've got a lot of interesting matchups. Obviously, the NHL playoff bracket isn't completely set. These are the projected matchups because we didn't want to do two separate episodes. So this is just based off of what we think is going to end up happening. There's 3 games left in the NHL season for most teams, and so at the end of the season, this is what it could look like. And round 1, we've got a banger of a matchup to start it off. The Atlantic Conference #1 team taking on the wild card 1. So we've got the Buffalo Sabres, who, as we know, haven't made the playoffs in quite some time. They've been bottom feeding for God knows how long. And the Bruins, a team that was expected to tank this year, or was tanking last year, surprisingly sneaks into the playoffs. And honestly, I wouldn't say they have a great chance to win a playoff series, but just the fact that they're in the playoffs as a whole is just a shocking result. They were one of the worst teams in the league last year after being historically good just 2 years before that. People expected them to have an off year this year and finish 4 or 5 teams out of the playoffs. Just them being in the playoffs is win enough for me. But what do you think about this matchup?
This is really interesting because you got a team, a lot of the Bruins players, like the stars like Pasta and Swayman, they've played in big playoff games. As you've probably told, I care a lot about experience. And I think when it comes to their star power, I think the star power of Boston exceeds the star power of Sabres. Yeah, you got Tage Thompson. Yeah, you got UPL. Yeah, you got Alex Lyon in net. But I just think the culmination and depth from the Sabres team is going to be a lot to deal with for Boston. Plus, all of the whole city of Buffalo is going to be huge into this matchup. They've been waiting so long. We're freshmen in college. We were 2 years old the last time the Sabres made the playoffs. But I just think that and the fact I really don't trust the Bruins that much. I mean, they lost to the Rangers twice, who one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference. But for that reason, I just don't think the Bruins can get it done. But I think they're going to pick up some games. Give me the Sabres in 6.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, I've watched this Bruins team basically all year, and it is the team that I definitely know the most about. They've got a bunch of guys that can step up, Murat Kuznetsov, Fraser Minton, Pavel Zacha. That whole Zacha line with Arvidsson has been great. And obviously, Pasternak and Geeky have been getting it done the whole year. I think they have enough talent to win this series, but I think the Sabres come into it with the added advantage that this Buffalo crowd hasn't seen playoff hockey in, a decade and a half. And so just that fact alone gives them the upper hand in this advantage. What I do know about Boston, though, they're always going to be loud in the playoffs. No matter what sport it is, it could be freaking lacrosse or the WNBA. They are always going to yell at the top of their lungs for their teams. And so maybe it's crazy to some of you fans, but I don't think that the Sabres have that crazy of an advantage in terms of their home crowd because of how loud TD Garden can get. Now, talent-wise, I know the Sabres have more talent than the Bruins. They should win this series, but I don't think that's always what happens. I saw that last couple of years ago. The Bruins were supposed to beat the Panthers. The Panthers were in a similar spot as the Bruins, a lot of young talent that's waiting to emerge. And so for that reason, no bias included in this pick at all. I think that the Bruins pull off a stunner in a 7-game series. They close it out on the road in Buffalo. And I think that after 7 games of shock from the Sabres that they let a team like the Bruins do that to them. I don't think the Buffalo crowd is going to be as loud in that seventh game, and I think the Bruins sneak by. But it's going to require a Jeremy Swayman masterclass. He's going to have to let in less than a goal per game if they're going to win this series, and it's nearly impossible, but there's still a chance. And I think that the Bruins could and should win this series.
Yeah, we'll kick it over to an arch rival of the Bruins, the Montreal Canadiens. Just imagine if the Bruins and Canadiens play in round two, how crazy that would
be
be.
nuts.
But in my opinion, this is the best matchup of round one. We got the Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Montreal Canadiens. Tampa, they don't have Steven Stamkos anymore. It's a completely different team. You got Jake Gensel, who is a known playoff performer. He was a Ranger killer all his career. So happy that he's in the Atlantic Division now. We don't have to face him every year if we make the playoffs. But I just think this Montreal team is so talented. But while there's a lot of new faces on this Tampa Bay Lightning team, they still got Vasi in that. I like Vasilevsky in the playoffs more than almost any other goalie, despite other than Igor Shesterkin. I like him much more than Sam Montembeault. Nikita Kucherov is, in my opinion, the best point scorer in the NHL. Obviously, Connor McDavid's there, but he's just amazing at everything.
He's so good.
Stanley Cup rematch, which is crazy that two teams in the Atlantic Division played in the 2021 Stanley Cup Final.
Yeah.
But I really think this could go either way. The Canadians are so skilled and so young, but Tampa has known playoff guys. Victor Hedman's still on the team. He may not be a top 10 defenseman in the league anymore, but he's still Victor Hedman, the clutch playoff performer and one of the best, former best in the world. But for that reason, I think it is a very close series. Give me the Tampa Bay Lightning winning this series in 7 games. Kick it over to Noah.
Yeah, I'm going a similar route. I do like Nikita Kucherov, and when they've played against the Bruins, and I'm using that as a reference point, they've looked really good. They've looked unstoppable. Their offensive force is lethal. We know who their captain is. Nikita Kucherov, one of the most prolific scorers in all of hockey. And Vasilevsky obviously is a great playoff goalie. We've seen that in years prior. Tampa Bay, they haven't had the greatest playoff success, but I think this year could be the year that they make a deeper playoff push, get to that end goal, replace one of these teams like the Panthers or the Oilers that have just been in it every single year. But I think that the Lightning take this one. I love the Canadians, but they've done enough winning. They can go to the side for this year and give me the Lightning in 6 games.
Never thought I'd hear a Boston Bruins fan say I love the Canadians, but here we are.
Yeah. Well, I'm just giving them their respect. I don't actually love them.
Mm-hmm. We'll move over to another intriguing matchup. We got the Carolina Hurricanes versus the Ottawa Senators. The Hurricanes are the 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They're always good every year. They got a lot of depth. I mean, they don't really have any superstars. I mean, I guess you could call Sebastian Aho a superstar. They just seem like they always get a good player, not necessarily a great player, but they are always active in free agency in the offseason, always active at the trade deadline. And they typically take care of their baby food in the first round. There was, until last year, they had gone 0 for 16 in their last Eastern Conference final wins. But this year, you're looking at the last 2 teams in the playoffs that they've really struggled with. The New York Rangers and the Florida Panthers are both not going to make it. Could this be the year that the Hurricanes go on a run? I don't really think so. I don't really know if their game is good enough. I do like Rod Brindamore and think he's a great coach, but it just seems that their play style, while it's so similar to Florida's, but it's just like 1B option. For that reason, I think they're going to win this game, but I don't really see them going on a crazy run. I think they're going to make easy work of it, though. Give me Canes in 5.
Yeah, there are certain teams that you can see winning a first round series, and certain teams that are just there because they had a good regular season. I think the Senators are a team that they're gonna put up a fight, but the Hurricanes are a clear round 2 team. You can tell that they have gotten it done all season long. They've played with all the top teams and they've shown all the top teams. They're a legit contender, and I don't think that the Senators have enough in them I mean, they should just be happy that they made the playoffs this year in what was a pretty crazy wild card race at the end of the year. But I don't think the Senators really stand a chance against the Hurricanes. They've got too much going for them, and so I honestly think that the Hurricanes are going to win it 4.
Mhm. Next up, we got a very interesting rivalry matchup. We could have Bruins, Canadians, um, ton of rivalry potential in the playoffs. But now we got a guaranteed Battle of Pennsylvania. We got the Penguins versus the Flyers. Sidney Crosby, he's kind of in the twilight of his career. He doesn't have to worry about Ovechkin anymore in the playoffs. But it's interesting because two teams did not make the playoffs last year. The Flyers have really kind of been a dumpster fire, to put it quite honestly, over the past few seasons. But they got a ton of young power. They got, Matvey Mishkov. They still got, some of the good players like Sean Couturier. But, the Penguins, they still have that trio of Evgeny Malkin, Chris Letang, and Sidney Crosby, who, quite honestly, might be the best playoff trio, if not probably the best NHL trio in the history of the league. But they are so experienced in the playoffs. While I don't think that the Penguins are necessarily that great of a team. Uh, they've got some decent wingers, like kind of rebuilded their team after Gensel left. They got Chinikov. Um, you know, just overall, I think that their depth, however, and their experience is going to be enough. I think that they're going to beat the Flyers in 6 games.
Yeah, I'm going to go a different route here. Obviously, both teams are from Pennsylvania area. But I think in these kind of close games, these teams were right next to each other in the standings. I think it really matters about your crowd and who's going to show up. And I think Philadelphia fans as a whole, they're way louder, they're way more energetic than the Pittsburgh fans. And I think when it comes down to it, their home ice is going to be much louder. It's going to be rocking when they're playing those games. Maybe the Penguins catch a couple of games near the beginning of the series just based off pure talent. I mean, we all saw what Sidney Crosby could do. Even on the world stage, he's still performing well. But I think the Flyers are going to win this series not because of talent, but because of momentum that they'll gain through their crowd.
Mm-hmm. Next up, we got the juggernaut who's been unreal this season. Excuse me, the Colorado Avalanche versus the LA Kings. LA Kings made a splash trading for Artemi Panarin. Noah, I'll start with you.
Yeah, my roommate is an LA Kings fan, and he's been going crazy about the Panarin trade. The Kings are a borderline good team. I mean, there's nothing, there's nothing that really pops off the sheet for me about them. But the Avalanche, on the other hand, they're a team that I could see making the Stanley Cup. I mean, they are the best team, I think, in all of the playoffs. I think that they have the best scorer in the world. Dare I say, the best player in the world. Nathan MacKinnon, he's playing the best hockey of his career, and he's not slowing down. I think just purely based off his goal scoring ability, that the Avalanche have an advantage in any series that they play in. Not to mention, he's also a great playmaker. And so I think that I have to give the Avalanche the heavy advantage in this series. Plus, I just can't imagine the LA Kings winning a playoff series. It's just hard to imagine anymore. So give me the Avalanche. I don't even know if the Kings get a game.
The Kings this year, this is the first time in 4 years that they haven't played the Oilers in the first round.
Honestly, kind of, they thought that it would be a bailout, but now look who they're playing.
Yeah, but the Kings just overall, they have a lot of, like, in the past years, they've been solid. I wouldn't necessarily say they're like an all-time team that can go on a crazy run, but they have a similar roster. Feel like if they weren't playing the Colorado Avalanche, they could make some noise, but the Avalanche, they are so fast. You got McKinnon, who one of the best skaters in the world, if not the best. I mean, the only other guy that compete is McDavid. They got McCarr, who's hands down the best defenseman in the world. And then, you got guys in net playing great. Goaltending has been a problem in previous years for the Avalanche. But now that they've kind of, playing goalie for the Avalanche is probably the easiest goaltending job in the NHL with how great they can be. But, McKinnon and McCarr, I think they're going to be too much for this Kings team. They do have a lot of star power. Panarin, as a Rangers fan, he can be good in the playoffs. Oftentimes, kind of no shows. I don't really think he's going to have a spectacular playoff performance this season. I think as long as you present McKinnon with a goalie and not an empty net, he's going to find a way to score.
Brutal take. McKinnon, we'll still have you on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. McKinnon, you're more than welcome. We got a chair right here for you. Same with Panarin. Sorry for
right here. We won't make you shoot any open nets.
No
open nets.
We got plenty of goalies all around here.
Right.
But I think, unfortunately, it's going to be a quick exit to Anze Kopitar's career. He's a Hall of Fame player, excellent center, one of the best face-off men in the league. But Nathan McKinnon's better. I hate to break it to you.
100%.
But, yeah, the winner of this game will face off against a very intriguing series, the Dallas Stars versus the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota has some, they got Kirill Kaprizov, who's a top 5 player in the league. They have, great goaltending duo, in Jesper Wallstedt and, both of the Swedish goaltenders gonna step up in a huge way. They traded for Quinn Hughes, which was a shocker.
Right.
Quinn Hughes and Matt Boldy. Not Matt Boldy. Brock Faber are two of the best defensemen in the league. Them combined, I think that the Stars, even though they got Miro Heiskanen, even though they got Mikko Rantanen, even though they got Jason Robertson, I think this is going to be a great series. Minnesota cannot win in the first round. I think that they're going to take care of business early, but I think the Stars are going to bounce back. 3-1 comeback. Give me the Stars in 7.
Wow. Okay. I got to go with the Wild. The Wild, they have so much talent this year. I wouldn't say it was gotten ethically because almost everyone was, some kind of a trade or signing. It's not really these homegrown guys. But Kaprizov, we know he has that, or Kaprizov, we know he has that big contract. He's been living up to it this season. Obviously, he's one of the best players in the world. But they just have too much star power. I like the Stars too. I think that they have plenty going for them. But I think in this series it'll come down to, who really can get it done. And I trust Kaprizov. I trust Boldy, who is a Massachusetts native. When you're from Mass, you're tough. And that's what the Wild are, and that's what they're gonna do. But I do think it's going to be a good series, maybe 6 or 7.
Matt Boldy, by the way, scored one of the goals in the iconic gold medal game on a nasty breakaway. But we kick it forward to two of the 3 newest NHL franchises. You got the Golden Knights from Vegas, and you got the Utah Mammoth. Noah, do you have any early thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's intriguing. I don't know how many people expected Utah to have success this early in their careers. I'm sure teams like the Hornets of the NBA are definitely a little bit jealous of that.
The Sabres.
And the Sabres, yeah. They're like these expansion teams with not as much early success. But, man, you look at the Mammoth, they're already in the playoffs. That's great for them. Utah has done a great job rallying around their team. These home games are, selling out, getting packed. And so I think they do have a fighting chance in this series. The Mammoth, it's a great story. And great stories do sometimes win in the NHL. But the Golden Knights, in my eyes, are like the Dodgers. Like, you don't like to see them win, but they always do. And they've got great scorers. We know that Jack Eichel is going to be elite in whatever series he plays in. It pains me to say it because I'm rooting for Utah, and I hope that they win because it would be so big for the state of Utah. I mean, what else do they got going? AJ DeBont still, maybe? But, yeah.
Bachmeyer.
Right, exactly. But I've got to go with the Golden Knights. They're just a team that I could 100% see making it to round 2, making it to round 3, and you're just like, when will they stop winning? But sadly, I've got to pick them.
Yeah, speaking of Utah, they also have former Syracuse Orange, Tyler Betsy now.
There we go.
But we'll roll right into it. This reminds me of a series a few years ago. It was the Colorado Avalanche after they won the Cup versus the Seattle Kraken, also in year two. Um, both squads really had a lot of young talent that, prospered over the years. Utah Mammoth, former Arizona Coyotes, they really were under poor ownership there, which never really allowed the team to prosper. But I think now that they are under the right ownership, over in Utah at the Pepsi, sorry, excuse me, not the Pepsi Center, Delta Arena or whatever. But they just have a lot of players at each position. You got Dylan Gunther, fantastic shooter, Logan Cooley, great skater, and then you got, you know, Clayton Keller, who's one of the best captains, young captains in the league. He's really kind of the everything guy for them. Vegas, you look at them, you got Jack Eichel, Mark Stone. Feels like they're one of these teams that every year they have like loads of stars. Kind of like the 2023 New York Rangers, where they had, you know, Patrick Kane, Tarasenko, Panarin, all of those guys on the same team. But for that reason, I just really don't think star teams can win. I think, everybody's going to be taking Vegas. I think Utah is going to pull off the
Vegas
upset.
has Vegas winning.
Yeah, Vegas has Vegas winning. But I think Utah is going to win in 7. I really like this
Wow.
squad. I don't think, however, I think that they're going to play the winner of the Oilers Ducks in round 2. I don't think that they're going to win that series, but I really like this series. I think Utah is going to shock and turn a lot of heads early on in these playoffs.
Fair enough. Then we get into a closer game in terms of the standings. Team we maybe didn't expect to see this low, the Edmonton Oilers taking on the Anaheim Ducks, who I think are just happy to be here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've had a great season. They, out of nowhere, they just have a good mixture of old and young guys. They got Cutter Gauthier from Philly, which, by the way, Philly hates him, by the way. But the Pacific is wide open. This is probably guaranteed to be the matchup, but it could really, right now, Edmonton has home ice, which you know how those Canadian fans do it. But it could really go either way. And, the fans out in Anaheim are itching for some playoff hockey. California hockey as a whole, it's going to look good with Macklin Celebrini and Will Smith over in San Jose. But if we get into this actual matchup, Connor McDavid is the best player in the world, and that is undisputed. I don't think anybody can argue, other than Noah a few minutes ago when he said Nathan McKinnon was arguably the best. But
I'll stand behind him.
But I mean, regardless, he's all-world talent. We have never seen a player as skilled as Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl at his wing. The biggest question I think for this series is going to be the goaltending. They no longer got Stuart Skinner in between the pipes, and Connor Ingram is set to start over Tristan Jarry, who they traded for Stuart Skinner. Connor Ingram, he played in Arizona a few years. I believe he played in Nashville. He's kind of a journeyman backup. I think he's solid. I believe in Connor Ingram. I think the Edmonton defense with Evan Bouchard is good enough to where they won't really need to have great goaltending, just a guy that they can kind of lean on a little bit. I think that with the Panthers not being in the playoffs this year, this could be Edmonton's year. So for that reason, I'm going to get the experienced Edmonton versus the non-experienced Ducks. I'm going to get them winning in 5.
Yeah, Edmonton. I was disappointed by their performance this year in the regular season. I mean, you have arguably two of the best players in the world in Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, and you can't even win your division. I think that was crazy, but I still trust them enough that they can win this series against an Anaheim team that they're good. They've put together a solid roster. They have a pretty promising future, but I don't think that this is their year. I think Edmonton is too good of a team to be first rounded, especially by a team like the Ducks. McDavid will have a good series, the second best player in the NHL, and obviously Draisaitl, a big time playoff performer like we've seen in previous years. So give me the Oilers in 5 games.
Yeah, this is gonna be a good series. Moving past this series, Stanley Cup final prediction. There's, everything's kind of wide open. Who do you got winning? Who do you got MVP, and what team do you?
Yeah, here's the thing. I don't love any of the teams in the East. I don't like the Sabres. I don't love the Sabres. I think they're getting first rounded by the Bruins, like I said. I mean, I don't love the Canadians. The Canes are solid, but I'm not sure how much you can really depend on them. For that reason, I'm going to take the Lightning coming out of the East. I think Kucherov is enough to get them there. They have a good mix of defense and offense. Obviously, we know how good their goaltending can be. And if they do run into the Bruins at any point, I know that they're going to beat us because they always do. Um, and then from the West, could say the Golden Knights, could say the Oilers, but just like how I said that McDavid will come second to McKinnon, I think McDavid's team will come second to McKinnon's team. I think that the Avalanche are going to make it back to the Stanley Cup. I'm saying we got Lightning versus the Avs. Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon. I forgot to touch on Makar. That's just such an elite duo. You've got a perfect blend of offense and defense. That's exactly what you need to win a championship. So give me the Avs to win the 2026 Stanley Cup.
Breaking the President's Trophy curse.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
I mean, overall, President's Trophy curse, I don't really know how real it is. If you put, statistically, if you put the best team in the NHL, they're not going to have greater than a 20% chance of winning it. But for that reason, even though it may not exist, it may exist. I think that the Oilers, this is their year. It's like Josh Allen this year when the Chiefs didn't make it, but this time I think that they're going to get it done. I think McDavid is due. I don't think the Avalanche. I think that they're gonna beat the Avalanche because the President's Trophy curse, and I just don't think that. I think the Avalanche are beatable, and I think McDavid will prove that he is the best player in the world. On the other side, it's been since 2019 that we haven't had a Florida team in the Stanley Cup final. And I think this year, the first round matchup between the Lightning and the Canadiens, I think that both teams are Stanley Cup final good. For that reason, I think that the Lightning are going to take care of business in that round. And essentially, I think that they're going to go to the Stanley Cup final. They just, it's going to be interesting. They don't have the same core as they've had in past years, but they still have some veteran guys that can win. Lightning are a winning organization. John Cooper is the best coach in the NHL. But when it comes to that final, I think that Canada is going to get its first cup win since 1993. I think that the Oilers are going to win the Stanley Cup. And don't really have as much of an outlandish pick for MVP like I did in the NBA, but who else but Connor McDavid can win the cup or win the MVP? The Conn Smythe, he's already won it in a year where he didn't even win the cup. But for that reason, I think who else are you going to give it to? Their goaltending isn't good enough to have a goalie win. Bouchard's not as consistent defensively, makes some boneheaded plays sometimes. It's got to be between him and Bouchard or between him and Draisaitl, but it's McDavid. Come on. But yeah.
Alrighty. Well, that was all we got for you guys. Hope you enjoyed an extended episode. If we get it wrong, you can clown us. If we get it right, then we're geniuses. And we hope you enjoy this playoff season. That was Off the Dome.